The Minister of Health full-scale simulation against coronavirus. For the international scene, flight MH17 downed in Ukraine. Welcome to our newsroom. Under the chairmanship of His Excellency Mohammed Ali Mohammed, the first public sittings of the first ordinary sessions for the year 2020 of the National Assembly was held this Monday, March 19th, in the cycle of the Parliament. The session which saw the participation of Prime Minister Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed, ministers and parliamentarians, had as its agenda the second reading of law creating a sovereign fund of Djibouti on this subject, and following the clarifications provided by the President of the Assembly, the Prime Minister and the General Rapporteurs for the budget, the Chamber voted in favor of the request for a second readings and adopted the rejections of Amendment 3, the second paragraph, and Amendment 4, previously voted on 5 February last. The President of the National Assembly, Mohammed Ali Mohammed, chaired yesterday, Sunday, the three-round Ordinary General Assembly of the East Africa Parliamentary Alliance for Food Security and Nutrition. This annual meeting was attended by more than 40 parliamentarians from 11 East African countries. Officially, the alliance is designed with international status, has been composed of Alliance Caucasus National Parliamentary Committee from Southern African countries, including Burundi, Djibouti, Eritrea, Ethiopia, Kenya, Rwanda, Somalia, South Sudan, Tanzania, and Uganda, as well as the East African Legislative Assembly. The President also thanked FAO for its continuous support and guidance to our institutions and to our country. Other members of the EIPA are the East African Legislative Assembly and the Interparliamentary Union of Intergovernmental Authority on Development. Assembly is an institution that shares national responsibility in the implementation of food policies, hunger reductions of detect for good nutrition. Food insecurity can be controlled in its sowing harvesting phase as well as in its solid and fluid nutritional quality. Parliamentarian cooperation as well as commitment against hunger can last the legacy for the development of local food and nutrition sectors. Listen to the later.
La réunion qui nous rassemble aujourd'hui est simple.
The objective of this meeting that brings us together today is simple: how to guarantee correct and healthy food to our citizens, a guarantee of effective economic and social development. As a semi-desert country, Djibouti experiences a constant cycle of droughts that undermines the government's efforts to ensure its food and nutritional security. The recurrence of this crisis affects the health of a large segment of the population, particularly women and children. Faced with this situation, the government has put in place a series of legal and institutional measures to provide an adequate and sustainable response to the problem of food insecurity. By launching the East African Parliamentary Alliance for Food Security and Nutrition in April 2019, we have made a bold choice. The concerns of the people we represent are legitimate and their expectations are high. Nevertheless, I am pleased to see the determination of men and women, members of our alliance, to achieve the objectives we have set ourselves. The eradication of poverty and its corollaries is a noble struggle that requires deep commitment, patience, perseverance, and unprecedented mobilization of all actors in society. I would like to conclude my remarks with these beautiful words by thanking you for your kind attention and wishing you every success in our work.
Aimable attention et en vous souhaitant plein succès à nos travaux.
Recalling the role of FAO, President Mohammed Ali Mohammed called for support for the agricultural sector, especially a small area drops and nomadic routes. Listen to this report.
La lutte contre l'insécurité alimentaire et nutritionnelle.
The fight against food and nutrition insecurity has been successful in recent years, thanks to certain technical innovations and the mobilization of new actors. This shows that hunger is not inevitable and that food insecurity is not a domain reserved for experts, which is why there is no doubt that we parliamentarians are essential partners in policies to combat poverty, hunger, and malnutrition. Indeed, this is inherent in our legislative function and our role of overseeing budgetary and government policies, but also in our role as representatives of the people. This platform supports the government that defines public policy and as elected representatives of the people, we only reinforce the government's power execution of public policy. It was in this spirit, with the support of FAO, that we created a parliamentary alliance against hunger and malnutrition. This alliance will provide a space dedicated to legislative processes to ensure food and nutrition security, particularly through the establishment of legal frameworks. You will agree with me that the effective fight against the food insecurity and malnutrition requires effective agricultural policies that involve small farmers, nomadic herders, and women, while providing them with the equipment they need to implement production systems that are both more productive and more respectful of their environment. Indeed, there is evidence that countries with better food security are those where government is strongly committed to the small-scale agricultural sector. I, therefore, call on all donors, in particular the FAO, to set up interventions and support our small farmers. And I recall once again the crucial role of parliamentarians in the fight against hunger and malnutrition. I hope that this meeting will be most fruitful and will above all make it possible to ensure food and malnutritional security for all of our fellow citizens and thus achieve zero hunger by 2030 in our respective country.
Et ainsi réaliser la faim zéro d'ici 2030 dans nos pays respectifs.
To prevent and protect the population against the coronavirus epidemic, it is within this framework that a simulation exercise was held today in the event of the suspected case of coronavirus and COVID-19 in Djibouti. This exercise, led by the Minister of Health, made it possible to test and evaluate the measures put in place to prepare for any eventuality, in particular the introductions of the virus into the country. The simulations began this morning at Djibouti International Airport, where several passengers were given a battery of tests, including thermal monitoring and information gathering on their respective routes. Of the 3 passengers who participate in this large-scale exercise, only one of them showed suspicious signs at the port of entry check. The others was immediately isolated, and the suspicious case immediately triggered the emergency procedure in force, which will subsequently mobilize several entities such as Djibouti International Airport, the National Gendarmerie, and National Police, which are fully involved in the management of the health crisis at the Ministry of Health. Following the detections of the suspect case at Djibouti International Airport, against as part of the simulation exercise by the Minister of Health, the transport of patients requires special escorts of motorcyclists from the National Gendarmerie to facilitate and reduce the transport time. Smooth ambulances arrive at care and quarantine site, which is secured by the National Police Force. On the site, the teams of infectious disease specialists in charge of management take over patient type 0 will be subjected to in-depth medical examinations. This simulation exercise made it possible to evaluate and the effectiveness of responsiveness of all the systems put in place by the Minister of Health to achieve a better follow-up in the event of the first appearance of the coronavirus during the 14 days quarantine and confinement period in these specialized facilities. Patients benefit from the best possible conditions of stay. It should be recalled that President Ismail Margele attaches great importance to the coronavirus control plan steered by a high-level multi-sectoral committee that he has set up. Listen, the Minister of Health's simulation case in the suspected case of coronavirus.
Vient d'effectuer un exercice de simulation.
A simulation exercise has just been carried out to test the devices put in place by the government on Thursday through the Ministry of Health to deal with this coronavirus disease. We were at the airport this morning. We have put in place at the airport a screening service for all passengers coming in from all over the country. These two services have tents. The first tent is for screening passengers and all the means and doctors. The medical professionals are present to control, and indeed, all passengers coming from all countries of the world. We have also set up an ambulance with medical teams that will transport to Bufar the patients who come suspicious at Bufar. We have set up a care site that we have just visited and which, in this site, has all the necessary equipment to test the person for the coronavirus disease. In this site also, there is the infectious disease doctor, a general practitioner, nurses, health professionals who take care of the person for an appropriate care for this coronavirus disease. Earlier, we visited a quarantine site to put a passenger in suspicion for 14 days. During the period of charges, the Ministry of Health has made all the necessary arrangements. I thank the President of the Republic, Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh, who have spared no effort in bringing us together and who has even set up a high-level committee.
The simulation exercises made it possible to evaluate the effectiveness and responsiveness of all the systems put in place by the Minister of Health.
Ministères qui sont impliqués dans cette préparation et cette riposte à une éventuelle importation de cas de Covid-19. Des efforts colossaux ont été déjà fournis. Je salue par là.
Several members of government and technical partners of United Nations followed step by step the different stages of this full-scale simulation exercises, which was analyzed and constructively criticized and will be used to make corrections and improvements necessary.
I think it is clear that the government is taking steps to deal with crises at the risk of this virus. And we were there. The World Bank is there to work with the government in collaboration with our colleagues at the United Nations, particularly the WHO, to help the government deal with this crisis, should it materialize. Thank you.
Si toutefois elle se matérialise. Merci.
Toutefois, nous sommes.
We are only at the beginning, and I hope this will be the end so that we don't have to deal with a catastrophic situation. In any case, please be aware. Today, I can take the liberty of speaking on behalf of all the men in uniform. We are entirely at your disposal, all the means at our disposal, and indeed human and material resources ready, if necessary, to stand by your side and do everything possible, everything we can for the well-being of our fellow citizens and our country.
Et faire tout ce qui est possible, tout ce que nous pourrons pour le bien-être de nos concitoyens et de notre pays.
This morning, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation hosted the Djibouti-EU political dialogue at the Institute of Diplomatic Studies under Article 8 of the Cotonou Agreement. A large number of ambassadors from EU member states accredited to Djibouti traveled from Addis Ababa, where they are based. The Cotonou Agreement between the European Union and African, Caribbean and Pacific states signed on 23 June 2000 in the economic capital of Benin. The Cotonou Agreement aims to eventually reduce and eradicate poverty and to contribute to the gradual integration of the ACP countries, the African, Caribbean and Pacific states, into the world economy. It rests on the three pillars: improving social services, fostering regional integration, promoting equal opportunities for men and women, protecting the environment, and progressively and reciprocally abolish barriers to trade. The Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, explained the importance of the Cotonou Agreement. Listen to this report.
Mesdames et messieurs, bonjour. Soyez tous les bienvenus à cette réunion du dialogue politique.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you all. Welcome to this meeting of the political dialogue established by Article 8 of the Cotonou Agreements. This is a traditional meeting that we hold once a year and which allows us to have a fruitful and constructive exchanges of views and interactions on the economic cooperation partnership between the European Union and the Republic of Djibouti. This kind of meeting also gives us the opportunity to discuss interior political issues and questions, regional and international politics, as well as all the topical issues of concern to us. And God knows that today we really have current issues that are a source of concern. For the entire international community, at this point, I would like to thank you for being here. It shows the European Union's interest in its relations with the Republic of Djibouti as in previous years. This session of the political dialogue will follow a mutually agreed agenda. This agenda will focus on major issues such as political field, the economic partnership between our two parties, and international and regional political issues. Earlier, he said that the issue that the world is concerned about at the moment is the crisis of the COVID-19. This will also be a subject for discussion between us so that we can exchange views on this and find out a little about the economic, political, and health risks we all are running.
The Minister of Finance, Ilyas Musa Dawale, has indicated that improving social services, fostering regional integration, and promoting equal opportunities for men and women is the pillars of the Cotonou Agreement. Collecting, treating, and disposing of household waste is now the mission of AVAS. AVAS is the new Ali Sabih road agency set up by the regional councils. For more detail in this magazine. Collecting, treating, and disposing of household waste is now the missions of AVAS. AVAS is the new Ali Sabih road agency set up by the regional council since the disappearance of the technical service of district Ali Sabih lacked the human and material means to ensure the cleanliness of the city. With the finance law of 2020, which released additional funds, the local authority decided to grant the first financing to Avas. The president of the regional council is at the origin of this initiative, and he explains how this project to start a unique project in Djibouti.
Nous étions la région ou la ville qui avait le plus de problèmes de déchets.
To do so, the regional councils provided Ali Sabih's road agency with a pick-up vehicle and organized a competitions to select about 20 agents, urban cleanliness agents who crisscross the different districts of the capital every morning. For the past few days, these garbage collectors have been going around, not only to collect garbage in front of shops and houses, but also to clean up forgotten corners where rubbish has accumulated over time. Hassan Barry is the director of Avas, and he accompanies his teams in the file as he does every morning.
On commence souvent par le centre-ville.
A program that helps preserve the environment and fights at its level against unemployment and precariousness, which has been well received by the population. I think it is good and the work is progressing. The agents are dedicated and they have cleaned up a lot of places. They are still working on other areas. Abdullahi Ali, the difference with the past is enormous. We could even cross the streets because of the stink. Now the cleanliness is back and we hope it gets even better. We thank the initiator. As for the OVD in Djibouti City, the next step for Avas is to ask for the contributions of local shopkeepers to acquire more means and to widen its actions. These farmers have improved their productivity in a few years, and the file have gained ground. We have another magazine concerning the agricultural stronghold of Assamu. Listen to this report.
These farmers have improved their productivity in just a few years. The fields have gained ground. We even cultivated a few steps away from the houses. Asamo, the agricultural stronghold of the region, located 25 kilometers from the capital of the Ali Sibih region. This progress is thanks to Daher Obse Aulet, known as Kashbash, who was able to change the mentality of the villagers who used to call him the madman who searched the earth.
beerta markii aan bilaabay waxaa dhacday dadku inaynay agmarin.
When I expressed my willingness to cultivate the land, everyone rejected me. They all opposed me. Sometimes you just have to show and not explain. They never saw anyone else farming except the cattle ranchers, and they found it intriguing. They even called me crazy, and then I was joined by another one, and then 7, 8, and 20, 30 other people. And then agriculture started here in Asamo. People who didn't believe in it at all first have all got a farm now, and they have all become farmers. Here, everyone works the land. Even the women get their hands dirty. Cultivated also a playground for the children. Whole families have started to cultivate. This is the case of Mahmoud, who, with his wife and children, maintains his perimeter. The recurring drought has transformed the nomads into farmers. Before, the land was little exploded. Today, young and old, we all enjoy our farmland 100% during the summer as a cool season. Our garden meets the needs of my children, and I live entirely from this work. In the morning, me and my children, except for those at school and my wife, all come here to cultivate our area. Thank God our garden has improved our lives a lot. The only difficulty Asamo faced was a lack of viable road infrastructure, which until then have made it difficult for the inhabitants to trade and exchange properly with the neighboring town of Ali Sibih, and hence with the rest of the country. In response to the grievances of these farmers, the President of the Republic, Ismail Omar Guelleh, inaugurated the road linking Ali Sibih to the neighboring town of Asamo on 25th of January 2018. This new road, an asphalt section of about 25 kilometers, has contributed significantly to the opening up of the locality of Asamo. With the completion of this new road section, Asamo has been able to sell its food and vegetable crops quickly to the market in the capital city and to the capital Djibouti. At the end of the inauguration of the new Ali Sibih Assam Road, the President of the Republic, Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh, addressed the members of the Association of Farmers and Stockbreeders of this region.
halkan waxaan isugu nimid maanta inaan dariiqii cusbaa
We are gathered here today for the inauguration of the new road that will open up the town of Asamo, a community that was changed due to the lack of this infrastructure. All the efforts made to cultivate the perimeters were not producing the results that were needed, with the slowdown to transport the products and sell them in a market where there would be many buyers. Now that the road is there, you've got to maintain and preserve it. You've got to take advantage of that road and double your efforts in marketing your products. Once the road was inaugurated, the Assami resumed activities that have been blocked by the poor state of the road, resumed trade in fruit and vegetables. Abdullahi Hussein Roble, a young graduate of the University of Djibouti and the native of Asamo, is in charge of grouping together the harvests of the various farmers and then transporting and marketing them to the capital of the region and then to the capital of Djibouti. For him, this new road is a relief for the farmers of Assam. Before, it was difficult to find a car. All the drivers refused to come because of the bad road conditions. We are grateful to God, the Father of the nation's President Ismail Omar Guelleh, and his government, and the Ministry of Agriculture for their support.
As part of a biometric registration operation for persons with disabilities in Djibouti organized by the National Agency for Persons with Disability in partnership with the Ministry of Health, the caravan of operations of biometric registration of persons with disability began yesterday at Damerjog. The objective of the biometric registration is to update the socio-demographic data of disabled people and also the medical data of disabled people, who will identify the situations of the person, the type of intellectual and disability resulting from a disabling disease, the degree of disability, possibility of care by a socio-medical organizations of the type support possible and adapted to its need. In accordance with the March statutory meetings of the Standing Committee of the Pan-African Parliament, the Honorable Pan-African Deputy Mahmoud Mustafa Daher chaired the work of his Standing Committee on Transport, Industry, Communications, Energy, Science, Technology, which met in Rabat, Morocco, within the Moroccan Parliament. The committee therefore organized 2 workshops on the following theme: intra-African trade in the context of African Continental Free Trade Area, data protections of the digital economy in Africa. These delocalized meetings is part of the strategy to move to a parliament of African peoples and to increase the visibility of the PAP's work. In addition, Djiboutian Member of Parliament Mahmoud Mustafa Daher delivered the official opening speech of the workshop alongside the Vice President of the Chamber of Councillors in Morocco, and recalled the importance of strengthening relationship between the African country in the area of transport, industry, communication, energy, science, and technology. For the international scene, fly MH17 down in Ukraine's extraordinary trials in the Netherlands opens this Monday's morning, March 9. The trial of flight MH17 begins in the suburb of Amsterdam. Boeing of Malaysia Airlines had been shut down in the summers of 2017 over the war's terms. Eastern, 3 Russian and 1 Ukrainian will be tried, presumably in 1/3 of the 289 victims were that it is highly unlikely that the 4 men will be brought to the trial here, as Russia and Ukraine do not extradite their nationals pursued abroad. They will therefore be tried in absentia. This is it for the news. Thanks for watching us.